What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And one other thing I do, amongst others, is that I host monthly conversations for fathers and dads that are co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's National Fatherhood Network and organization, and Dove Men Care. And I always like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem, not someone's talking, someone's problem. And it is Sunday afternoon, November 15th. And for those who know and those who don't know, most Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Eastern time, we host a great conversation called Black Canada Talking. It's an online event that helps and provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And we have another new friend to the Black Canada Talking family, but not a new friend to Dr. Vibe. This is a gentleman that I've been blessed to know for at least 25 years. We go back to the days of an organization called Each One Teach One, and there was a group of us. We weren't OGs at the time. I think we're OGs now, called Brother to Brother. And there was some Black men who we were mentoring, some younger Black men. And I've been blessed to know this man since that time. Our new friend today that we have on the Dr. Vibe Show is Wayne Harris. Let me give you a little background on Wayne. He is known for his ability to understand people and their situations by leveraging emotional and cultural intelligence. He has cultivated this edge through thousands of hours of training and development over 3 decades and loves to pay it forward. He's originally from Montreal, Quebec. He is committed to uplifting Black families and their communities from coast to coast in Canada. He has coached and mentored teens and adults in basketball, after-school programs, and career paths with a special passion for connecting with young Black men from single-parent homes like his own. Since moving to Toronto in 1990, he has supported folks of all ages in customizing their value to the market and positioning themselves to win. He also has developed young adult programming for the City of North York, the Citizen Strong. He's also a proud and longstanding teacher of personal economics for the Junior Achievement of Canada. The majority of his professional background was based in the information technology field with 22 years of experience in the cybersecurity technology and solutions for the Caribbean, U.S. and Canadian markets. Today, he works in the financial services industry, helping families and businesses optimize their succession planning and estates. He holds a postgraduate degree in business administration from the University of Leicester and several IT security-related certifications. He's also a licensed insurance agent and a certified coach with the Certified Coaches Federation. Like myself, I'm certified too. He has been married to his college sweetheart, Andrew, for over 25 years and has 2 adult children in university. He's going to be with us today talking about financial literacy in the Black family. Welcome for the first time, but not the last time, Mr. Wayne Harris. How are you, Wayne?
Doing well, Dr. Vibe. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure and long overdue, but it's trying to get you to stand still for a few seconds. It hasn't changed since the first time I met you, but it is an absolute pleasure. And I'm going to share with people here live and public. This is a Black man, and this is a man I very much respect because he has changed, I'd say, thousands of people's lives in the positive, and he has done it with the right intent. Sometimes it can be challenging, but he's doing it with the right intent and the right heart. So when I like to personally thank you before we go any further for what you have done, what you are doing, and what you will be doing.
Thank you. I've got to say that for all the time that we've known each other, you're also doing your thing in the community in a very visible way, and the impact of all your programs and all its iterations over the last 20, 25 years, offline and online, has been impactful to the Black community, especially to Black men and boys. So thank you for doing what you do.
Well, we work together to win together, my brother. And I already see one of the young people from the Brother to Brother days, Kevin Messam, saying true, true. So what's up, Kevin Messam, one of our Brother to Brother mentees from way back who's living in New York. And one day we hope to get you back on this side of the border. And also big shout out to Serena Wills from the Maryland area. And this is good. And she says she's looking forward to this conversation. So we're going to make it happen. So Wayne, before you had this world of IT and finance, life in Montreal, give us some of those memories, my brother.
Yeah, bien sûr, mon ami. Tous mes années en Montréal, c'est bien pour moi et ma famille. That's all the French I had, which is. Listen, don't let me fake you out. Don't let me fake you out, brother. Listen, I love Montreal. I'm still a Montreal Canadiens fan. Apologies to Leaf Nation. I still love my Expos. Apologies to Blue Jays Nation. Now, the reason I support the Blue Jays is because we no longer have an Expos team, but I cannot for the life of me put a blue and white shirt on my body. I think it would catch fire.
That's my dad's all-time favorite baseball team, though, the Expos. You know that.
Exactly. Bleu, blanc, and rouge, man. Red,
Yes.
white, and blue for life. Even though they did PK dirty, that's for another show.
Yes.
So before I moved to Ontario, and it's 30 years ago on November 11th.
Wow.
So it just crossed over. And I have to tell you, I think about what my life would have been like in Montreal versus what it would be here. And Ontario, hands down, especially the GTA, is the place for Black excellence and an opportunity for Black excellence. I've been to every province and territory in Canada except for the territories and Saskatchewan and Newfoundland. And I can tell you, when I go to Vancouver, when I go to Calgary, when I go to Edmonton, when I go to Ottawa, when I go to Halifax, I don't see a lot of people who look like us in positions of power. And I've been in those buildings. And I have to say that Toronto gives you the best chance. It just happens to be the second most expensive place to live in the country. But if you want to throw down and you want to compete, this is a place to do it. Hands down for people of color, especially Black people in Canada.
Okay. Is there anything about Montreal that you miss?
100%. Listen, there is no better place in this country between May 24 and Labor Day than Montreal, Quebec. The festivals, the food, the wine, the ambiance. Back in the day, the clubs. It was crazy. Oh, you guys were turning off the lights and rolling up the sidewalks at 12:30, 1 o'clock. When I first got here, I thought Last Call was a song. What are you talking about? It's 1:30. I just left my house to come to the club. 1:30, Last Call. Listen, we would have you could tell all the Montrealers. We had our Heinekens like this. Because clubs are supposed to close at 3 o'clock, not 1:30. It was bananas.
One of the things that I find fascinating about you, one of the many, is the experience you have and you're willing to share about being raised by a single mother. Share some of that then, and how has this impacted to who you are today?
Great question. I can tell you, my mother died on July 10th, 1978, 20 days before my 12th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Summer of 78. She woke up in the morning as she would normally do. She came into my bedroom and she said, "Wayne, your lunch is in the fridge. You and Paul have a great day at camp. Love you." And I said, "Love you." I closed my eyes and went back to bed. I woke up. I got a call from my cousin who lived about 5 blocks away. He said, "Come over to the house." And I went over. And about 2.5 hours after I got over there, they called and told me over the phone, which is something I don't recommend you tell preteen kids in a high-rise, that their mother is gone. So I can tell you that we were a nuclear family from 1963 to 1969. I was born in 66, so I don't know about anything before my time. But 3 years after I was born, my parents split. And from 69 to 78, we were with our mother in multiple locations. Lots of landlord issues with 3 very young, rambunctious kids and a mother who was working full-time. What's interesting about her time on her own was that she was working full-time, going to school full-time, raising 3 kids by herself. She had tenants that weren't being the best tenants because she had bought a duplex as a single mom, had a car as a single mom, and my father was kind of there, maybe supporting financially, but he wasn't really involved in our day-to-day. And that all changed on July 10th, 1978. So to all the single moms out there, I don't know if it's 75% of you or 87% of you in the Black community, at least in North America, maybe in the Caribbean, I salute you, because no one gets it done like a single mom. No one gets it done. From 78 to 85, I was with my father, and that was a different situation. He did his best because he wasn't used to day-to-day parenting, and you could tell. If I was him, I would have been very, 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 very overwhelmed, and he probably was. But I think what kept us alive and kept him sane was that he was and still is a fanatic for physical fitness. He went to the gym 3 days a week from 1963 until COVID. He's 87 years old. I talk to him every couple of days, and we're cool today. But we weren't cool back in the 80s. And I had to leave home at 19 before I finished university, before I had myself established, and it cost me a lot of economic pain while I had to make those adjustments on my own. So something I definitely didn't want to pass on to my children. So I salute the single moms. I think that mothers being father and mother at the same time is one of the most difficult jobs you could ever ask of any human being. And I think our women have a predisposition for taking on that load because of the examples they see around them, where their grandmother was single, they're single, their sisters are single, their friends are single, raising kids. So that's the new normal, and that needs to change.
Received. Thank you for sharing a little bit of the journey. What do you carry on that your mother instilled in you? I know she died when you were at a young age, but are there still some traits that are Wayne that were hers?
Yeah, I would have to say this. I'm trying to never embarrass my mother or my father, for that matter, whenever I'm in public or in private. So whenever I'm trying to do something, I have to ask myself, is this going to increase or decrease the reputation of my family name? And for the most part, I follow that rule. And what would she say if she heard this about me? And if she would be proud of it, I do it. If she's not going to be proud of it, I have to think about it seriously. So I don't get in too much trouble. Can't say I've never been in trouble, but I don't get in too much trouble. I've always kind of known that when things were about to go south, I kind of knew 5 minutes before that to get out of there. Mm. Right? I always heard about the gunshots at the nightclub, at the club I was at, after I was safely at home the next day.
Nice.
Right? I always heard about something going down with someone somewhere, but I was always not there. It's a sixth sense of being able to protect myself and protect my personal brand, I guess. She was about working hard and working smart. She was she was a nursing assistant, I guess what you would call today a PSW. And the nurses were not treating her with a lot of respect, the same way the PSWs are being treated today, ironically. And she decided she was going to learn French and become a nurse. And she died just shy of getting her nursing diploma.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Thanks. So that level of dedication and focus, she was going to rust out. She wasn't going to, she was going to burn out, not rust out. Right? She was always firing. And my lifestyle is kind of the same way. I can tell you that when 44 hit me, I was like, ooh, this is how old she was. This is where she was at that age. And I was still, I believe, in my infancy of my ascension to becoming the best me I could become. So I think that she taught me about setting goals, striving for them. She tried to surround herself with people who would be uplifters and not detractors. And I do the same thing. I used to do it very abruptly when I was younger. I would just disappear from people's lives and they wouldn't know why and I wouldn't tell them. And today I have more people who are fade to black as opposed to me so-called cutting them off. I don't think cutting them off is something you do. I just put myself in position to not have them negatively affect me as much as they probably could at a certain time in my life.
Wonderful. We're gonna get to the financial part, but I want some people to find out more about you. Your childhood or your high school sweetheart,
Mm-hmm.
who's been your ride or die for so many years. How did you meet?
Oh boy, look at you, eh? Research. Okay, okay. So here's the first mistake. One, it wasn't my high school sweetheart, it was my college sweetheart.
Sorry, college sweetheart. My apologies.
But that's okay. We met at 19. In March of 1985.
Wow.
And I introduced to her by a friend of mine, Sylvan Blackett. Shout out to Sylvan, a Montreal man who's now in Toronto. And he introduced us because he was working with her at McDonald's, and she was also in his program, Electrotechnology, at Dawson College. Shout out to the Dawson Blues, who never lose. He introduced me to her, and I took her number, and we hit it off. I was very, very much a novice as it came to dating, because I was dealing with a lot of stuff between my mother's death and me leaving home at 19. And I met her at 19.
Wow.
So it gave me, there was a feeling of serenity and calm around her. I just felt that feeling of someone really, really caring about you. And I hadn't felt that since my mother died, to be honest.
Nice.
So when I felt it, I'm like, oh, I remember this. And you have a love for your mother in an appropriate way. You have a love for your girl in an appropriate way. But there was a feeling of someone who actually cared about me that I had not felt since my mother died. So when I felt it, I was like, who gave me that feeling? Oh, you. Okay, so I'm done, eh? And she's like, what do you mean? 3 weeks into dating, I said, okay, I'm done. She's like, what do you mean? I go, I'm done. I said, you're it. She goes, what do you mean? Just buy me another drink, right? You can ask her. And she's like, yeah, just buy me another drink. You pump your brakes. You're a little bit too serious. I said, listen, here's what I'm going to do.
Oh.
I'm going to get out of this town. I'm going to get out of Montreal, because I already see the governor that they have on top of us. We're the wrong language and we're the wrong race. That's two. If I move to Toronto, it's just wrong race. I can't fix that, but at least I have a chance to compete. Long story short, I said, I'm going to finish school. I'm going to move to Ontario. I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to marry you. And I was true to my word.
Yes.
I missed it by a year. I said I would do it in 1991. I proposed in 1991. We got married in 1992.
Wow. This is something that people need to know about Wayne. I've always known him to be a man of his word. So even long before I met him, he very much values his word, because he knows that his word is his bond.
Facts.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump to some of the professional career. You had a long career in IT.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose that journey, and what are some of the memories of that journey?
Oh, brother, let me tell you. I moved to Ontario after I leave the Army. So shout out to 3 failed military engineers, now 34.
Hey, just excuse me. I saw the picture you posted a few days ago on Instagram. Vintage.
So me and my engineers, Chimo, baby. Only the engineers will know what that means, Chimo. So I joined the engineers. Why? Because I got kicked out of university at 19 years of age. First time in my life, I failed at something and failed badly, publicly. Why? Because I was going to school in honor of my mother's memory, not for any reason. I had no mentorship, and had someone said, hey, you don't need to go into computer science or engineering, but those were all the status. I was chasing validation, chasing status, and I wanted to impress people. That because I came from a single parent family and that mother died, and I went to another single parent family and I left home at 19, I wasn't going to become a black statistic. So I was fighting for credibility. Even found an engineering ring on the street, kind of serendipitously. I wore it, took pictures with it, because I was trying to imagine myself as an engineer. But guess what? Having the aptitude for something and having the attitude for it didn't match. And university said to me, thank you, Concordia University, and they said, you need to leave. But before they left, they said, we don't understand why you're failing. We don't know what you're going through, because we know your IQ is high. And they did an IQ test, and I tested in the top 5 percentile.
Wow.
So I tested high. Then they did a Myers-Briggs, and I tested ENTJ, extrovert, intuitive, thinking, judgmental. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that structure kept me on track. I was a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, Army Cadet. So I figured where I used to win was with a uniform on. So I joined the Army Reserves and became a military engineer. Still chasing the validation of the engineer. I could have joined anything, but I joined the engineers because it had more cachet. And I said, if I want to flunk out of university, if I have Department of National Defense on my resume, it will mean something to someone if I don't have a degree. And I was right. Joined the Army for 3 years, defended the woods of Quebec. There was not a squirrel or what do you call those things? Squirrel or rabbit or anything they were all safe because I was out there in the woods in Quebec. I never went to war, never got deployed. Yeah. We ran up and down in the woods of Farnham, Ontario, and Valcartier, as well as in Gagetown, New Brunswick. Made some friends that I still keep in contact with today, but they beat me up physically, and I needed to beat up physically, but because I was so disappointed in myself because of being kicked out of university. But when I came out of the Army, I moved to Ontario immediately because I had friends who would come here, and they were telling me, listen, buddy, there's so much money in Toronto that when people drop $20 bills, no one even bends down to pick them up. There's so much cash down here. I'm like, I'm coming. So I packed my bags and I left and told Angie, I'm going to go down there, establish a beachhead, and come back and get you. And I did just that. So 1990, I came down, went to work for a bank. One of my friends from Montreal Elementary School who moved to Toronto many, many years before me, saw him at Montreal's Carrie Fête, which is our very, very small version of Caribana. Used to be bigger than Caribana. Don't get it twisted. Montreal's Carrie Fête was much larger than Caribana. But when we all moved down here, we brought the parade and everything with us. But anyway, he told me he had a hookup at CIBC. I got a job at CIBC and I was a banker. And I did that for a little while. And I just saw the money that people were making. I saw what I was making. I'm like, this is ridiculous. What am I doing here? I'm going to go back to school. So I was going to go to university. But guess what university costs down here? Montreal, you could go to university for a bag of Doritos, buddy. For the cost of a bag of Doritos, you could go to university in Montreal. You still can today. I think it's 3 Gs for 3 years of school. It's the $1,000 a year plus books. If I'm wrong, you guys can reach out to me and let me know. But it's nothing compared to what it is in Ontario. So I went to university. I said, I'm not paying those kind of prices. So I ended up at college, Humber College. And at Humber College, looking for leadership, looking for validation, found out about student council, saw that no one was running for vice president of finance. I was studying computer science and doing a little bit of business. And they said, all you have to do is get 50 names. So I went to where everybody was playing spades, euchre. What's the other game? Spades, euchre, and president. And I went and said, sign this. They go, what's this? It's a petition for me to become vice president of finance. Just sign it. And they all signed it. All the black kids in the foyer. I took it back. They gave me an interview. And I interviewed because I was 23 now. Yeah. So all the kids around me are 17, 18. They were still OAC at the time. So maybe they're 18, 19 years old. But I'm 23, so I'm 4 years older than these guys. I had been to college and university before. So I had seen most of what they were seeing for the first time. So I was flowing. And then in my last year, I decided, I don't know why, I took all my tech courses at night and all my English and humanities and electives during the day. And by taking the tech courses at night, I would meet the people in the tech industry.
Okay.
I dress up in my suit and tie, walk in there, and I met a guy. His name is Brent Anderson. Still talk to him today. I go, Brent goes to me. He goes, listen, I missed the last class because I had to work. I was working shifts. And we go for coffee break on a 3-hour class. I go, so what do you do? He goes, I work in IT for the Bay. I go, the Bay has IT? He goes, yeah. He goes, the cash registers send their sales to a central computer. The central computer sends it over satellite to the head office. We make sure that all the sales come in for all Bay and Zeller stores across Canada. I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I go, are you hiring? He goes, yes, we are. I said, fantastic. He goes, but you have to speak French. I go, je parle français, je viens de Montréal. He goes, what? You speak French? Little did he know that's all I knew. He says, come come in. I said, come to my office. I'll print you my resume. So he comes to my office. He goes, you're VP Finance? I said, yeah, I'm VP Finance here at Humber College. Hand out $6 million budget. I'm doing my thing. I print Shift F7, right? Word perfect, baby.
Yep.
Shift F7. It
Yes. Yep.
Fix it. And my resume is always like a fire truck waiting for a fire. Always ready, always up to date. He takes it. They call me. They say, you're going to have an interview. The first one's going to be in English with the big boy, and the second one will be in French if you get to the second one. Well, of course, I pass the first one. I get to the second one. I go into the resource office at Humber College. I meet a lady by the name of Grace Davis. Shout out to Grace, who's now in Montreal. Jamaican who spoke 5 languages. Wow. English, French, Spanish, Italian, and German.
Whoa.
What? So I go to Grace. I said, Grace, listen, I got an interview next week. Here are the 25 questions they ask in an interview. I've written my answers in English. Can you translate them in French for me? She goes, what for? I go, when they ask me the question, I'll answer in French. She goes, that's a dangerous move. I said, I want this job. So she translates the 25 questions for me. I go in to the interview. I meet Pierre. Haven't seen Pierre in about 25 years, maybe longer. Pierre comes in. He goes, blah, 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 blah. I got to question 13. Blah, 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 blah. Pierre asked me a second question. I'll go question 7. Blah, 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 blah. He walks out 20 minutes later. His French is fine. And they hire me. Vibe, they hire me. And that's my first job, $22,500. They paid me. And I was like, what? So excited, but scared. Scared beyond anything in my life. More scared than when I proposed to my wife. You know why? Because the phone caller ID had just come into being. And you could tell 514 Montreal area code.
Montreal, yep.
8 Quebec area code. 819.
Yep.
Got to know Hull at the time area code. When it comes in, I'm not picking up because I know the other person's French. They're like, listen, bro, you are the French person on this shift. You got to pick it up. So I pick it up. C'est bonjour, c'est Wayne. Est-ce que je peux vous aider? They go, yeah, Wayne. Blah 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 blah. Printer. Blah 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 blah. Error. Blah 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 blah. No problem. I called the service guy, and that was my first French call. I hung up, sweating, Bo, sweating. Guess what? I learned IT French at the Bay. I started taking those calls. I'd be the only one on shift between 11 o'clock at night and 1 in the morning because Vancouver was closing at midnight, and I would be there for the Vancouver close. So I knew the French calls would stop right around 10 o'clock because all the East Coast had been closed.
Yep.
So it's only English calls after 10 o'clock. I could relax. But man, oh man, I'd be on shift, and these people will be like, listen, Wayne, this guy's calling in. He's speaking so fast, I don't know what he's saying. And I get on that phone, and honestly, 6 months into the job, I don't care. He could be speaking at Mach 1. I got it, and I would respond to it. Got a call from Shoppers Drug Mart. Did the same thing. French, $33,000 a year. I'm like, 10 G's? Out. I leave. I go to Shoppers. Same thing. Calls in French with a pager. I'm taking the calls in French. Get a call from Canadian Tire. $45K. What? $12,000 more? Out. Listen, I'm married now. I don't have any kids now because we can't afford kids. I'm just trying to make money. Yeah. We bought our house, right? We're trying to make money. $45K Canadian Tire. But listen, I got to pay for parking. It's Yonge and Eglinton coming from Mississauga. It's crazy.
Yeah, downtown. Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, this is madness. So the same recruiter calls me again and says, listen, you're doing this computer stuff. He goes, I got a company for you. I said, listen, I don't want to hear anything unless it's in Mississauga. He goes, it's in Mississauga. I go, I don't want to hear anything unless it's over $45,000 a year. He goes, it's $45,000 a year, but with benefits because Canadian Tire was a contractor.
Right.
I'm in. Out. I leave Yonge and Eglinton. I go to Mississauga to work with Bridgestone Firestone.
Yep.
95% of the calls are in French. But because of all the work I had done at the Bay, Shoppers and Canadian Tire, I'm on it like a dirty shirt. And I'm as bilingual as I'm ever going to be. And these guys, back in those days, there's no video call. So they didn't know I was black. All they heard was the French.
Yep.
And they're coming into town from Upper Rubber Boot, Quebec to come meet Wayne. This guy that they talk about French, and I'm doing my thing and helping them out and speaking French and telling jokes. And they meet me, a black man. Oops, too bad, Gaeta. You love me already. Too late. So I'm in Bridgestone Firestone. I'm living my best life. 45K, not walking distance from home, walking distance from my new home, but not where I was at the time.
Right.
And this guy walks in, and they go, Wayne, this is Robert Herjavec. Robert Herjavec, Wayne Harris. They go, Wayne, I was told that you understand the game of basketball. I said, Robert, listen, I played ball, I officiated ball, and I coached basketball, so I know the game. He goes, well, I bought season tickets at Raptors, and I don't understand the game. I'm a soccer player. Can you explain the game to me? I said, come over to the whiteboard, and I break it down for him. He goes, what do you do here? I go, second level, bilingual support. He goes, you're in the wrong business. I go, what business should I be in? He goes, you should be in sales. You're in the wrong business. And he leaves, gets in his black 850 BMW coupe that looked like the Batmobile, and he drives off with his $20,000 Rolex, and he's gone. This is when he's a single-digit millionaire. Well, fast forward, Robert is now on Shark Tank.
Yes.
He was on Dragon's Den before that.
Yep.
And Robert, when he was just a single-digit millionaire, called me out of Bridgestone Firestone and said, Wayne, I have a position open. I'd like you to apply. He goes, do you have a resume? Like a fire truck waiting for a fire. Shift F7. I send it to him. In 1997, he calls me. Long story short, he hires me. My goal in life, I wrote down when I left Montreal, was to get out of Montreal, marry my girl, buy a house, have a car, make $30,000 a year. That's why when Shoppers Drug Mart said 33, it triggered me because it was above my magic number. I reset my goals, but I didn't have the self-image to say $60,000 to double my money because I didn't know how I was going to do that without working 3 jobs. So I set my number to 50,000. Robert gave me an offer of 50,000. It hit my psychological trigger, and I accepted the offer. He said, if you do what you're supposed to do, you'll double your money. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you'll double your money if you do what I'm asking you to do with this internet security at the time called firewalls. I said, I accept. Little did he know that while I was at Bridgestone Firestone watching all the tire sales guys come in and out, all the guys used to go to all the different tire shops and make sure Bridgestone was being represented properly. All those guys were driving their little Ford Tauruses, wearing great suits. And I said to one guy, Rocco Sacco, real name, Rocco Sacco. I said, Rocco, what do you listen to for sales? He goes, I listen to this guy, Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Selling. I said, do you have it? Can I get it? He goes, yes. He goes, here's the tape. Dub it and bring it back. So I went home and dubbed the tape like all you men did back in New York, back in the 80s when you used to go out for Labor Day weekend. I dubbed that tape, and every day when I was shaving, I listened to The Psychology of Selling and Brian Tracy. So when I got my interview with Robert, I was ready. So here's a note to everybody, a tip. You have to be a fire truck waiting for a fire. Luck equals opportunity plus preparedness. I was always preparing. So when the opportunity of Robert came to pass, I was lucky because I knew exactly what to say and how to say it as per Brian Tracy. When the opportunity came, I was magnetizing that opportunity by listening to that tape every time I was shaving every 2 days. That's what got me into cybersecurity, internet security at the time, 1997. I doubled my money. I made $100,000 for the first time in my life in 1998. And when I made $100,000, my son was born. Because the way to have kids in Toronto is to be able to afford them. So as soon as I could afford a child, we had a child. 2 years later, we had our daughter. And then Y2K was so devastating to my industry that I was afraid to have the third. We were going to have a third in 2002, but Y2K was nuclear winter for IT, man. It was the roughest year ever up until, I guess, this year in COVID, 2008, and then this year. So we didn't have a third child because economically, if I was breadwinner, Angie was staying at home because we didn't know anybody in Ontario, and we didn't trust daycare. We had seen 2020 and 60 Minutes with the hidden camera and the beating the kids with the babysitters. We're like, not happening. Someone will go to jail, probably me, not happening. Angie, are you okay to stay home? She goes, I'm okay to stay home. You go out and take care of business. And that's what we did from 1997 till today.
Wow. Amazing. Well, okay. So I'm going to ask, can we get you for a few more minutes past the top of the hour? Because I know financial literacy is what you're here for, but I think it's important that people hear these stories.
Sure, yeah. Go for it.
Okay. So what the pivot from the IT world to financial services, how did that happen?
Right. So I have a half-life. Like my BSO meter is finely tuned. And when people try to dismiss me or disparage me or take me for granted, again, that need for validation that I've always had has been a blessing and a curse, because when I feel it, I can't get over it. And when I can't get over it, because the opportunities in my field were so great and I had trained so well. I'm a certified information systems security professional, certified information systems auditor, information technology infrastructure library version 3. I had certified myself up the yin yang. I had become a Toastmaster. I was speaking at different events, and I was running the show in some of the biggest accounts in the country: TD Bank, Bank of Montreal, Rogers, Bell, Canadian Tire, Loblaws. I was TSX. I was working with some of the biggest companies in the country and the federal and provincial governments in Ontario, Alberta, and BC. I was living the dream, making real money, 6 figures from 1998, and I can tell you this: the money was great, but I was like, "What is this? This is whack-a-mole. Find the technology, fix that hole. The hackers find a new way to get in. Find the technology, fix that hole. The hackers find another way to get in." And it was becoming, honestly, fool's gold. I felt bad telling these people that if you spend this money with me, you're going to be any more safe than you were before you spend the money with me. I couldn't say it with a straight face because I wasn't being authentic. Once I figured out that there are degrees of security, there's no safe and unsafe. There's shades of gray. I could accept that, but when you look at the value you're adding to society, what making that money did for me, it allowed me to cut checks to 100 strong. It allowed me to volunteer at CACD, the Canadian Association for Community Development, and bring them into Microsoft for a tour to stretch their brains of kids of all colors that this is possible for them. And when they walked into Microsoft and saw the United Nations of people there, they could see themselves at that level making that kind of money. And some of them are there today. But I didn't believe I was adding value. I was just selling stuff. And I got bored, and because I got bored, I got sloppy. And it became harder and harder to look people in the face and say, yes, if you give me this quota, I will attain it. And I will do everything in my power during the 60 hours a week to make that number. I wasn't that interested. And as I got closer and closer to the age of 50, I said, I can't do this for another 15 years. So I need to find something else. And then a gentleman that we both know and love, Ricardo McRae,
absolutely,
came to me and said, listen, a little something I'm doing. I don't think you're interested in it. You're a baller. You know, you're not going to do anything with this, but take a look at it. I took a look at it and I went, yeah, I was going to do this when I turned 40. But when I turned 40, I contracted prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I didn't switch into this industry at 40, because I was looking at 40 because I was already over it at that point in time. Stay-at-home wife, 2 small kids, single breadwinner, to go on straight commission was going to be a very, very tough thing to do. But I would have done it if I didn't have cancer, because I believe in me. So when 50 came, I said, if not now, when? So at 50, I said, okay, I'm going to pivot. And I did it part-time. And I was doing well. I got a job at a decent company, medium-sized company out of New Jersey. Had a great boss. First time I had a boss that was taller than me, 6'9".
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Shout out to Brian. Brian Goodman out of Philadelphia. And Brian's 6'9", played for the University of Buffalo. He's younger than me by 4 years, but we're from the same era. So we were talking Christian Leitner, talking ball. He played against them. They grew up in ball. Listen, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then he got promoted to a new job, and I got a new guy. And this guy came in, and this guy was, he didn't say it, but he was a make America great kind of guy.
Okay.
And that was the end of me. 3 months from the time I shook his hand, I was done.
Wow.
And he gave me an 8-day package.
What?
Yeah. And I took it. I said, because they're an American company, I said, yeah, I'm not gonna worry with that. What this is telling me is now's the time. If you are who you say you are, pivot. Don't panic. and go into this thing full time and do what you do. And that's what I've done. And it's worked out brilliantly.
Thank you for that story. Really. Thank you. Didn't know. So thank you for sharing it with me and others. And I know there'll be at least one other person that will get some clarity from what you've shared over the last few minutes. So let's talk about Blacks and financial literacy. Like, wow, we could be on for the rest of the night on this one. What thoughts did you come into the industry with when it came to Black Canadians and financial literacy, and being at it for a while now? Were they verified? Were they different?
Yeah, there are two camps. There is the nothing's going to happen to me camp, so I'm not going to prepare. And the I am prepared with someone else, and I don't want you to know my business camp. Okay, those are the two camps I'm dealing with in the Black community. So let's start with the I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to be an ostrich and put my head in the sand because death is not going to affect me. Now, Ricardo said to me, he goes, listen to me carefully, Wayne. He goes, death is undefeated. I went, facts.
Time never lost a fight.
Death is how many billion and okay?
Yep.
Mayweather. Okay, so if death is undefeated, it would make sense you can plan for the future. But most people who look like us are scrambling, so their thoughts are tactical, not strategic.
Say that again. People need to hear that.
Most people who look like us, 80-20 rule. 80% of us are tactical. 20% of us are strategic. So if you're tactical, you're not thinking about 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, maybe even 30 or 40 years from now. You're thinking about days and weeks. Most people plan more for their vacation than they do for their financial future. So with that in mind, with a very, I'm not going to say immature cohort, I don't only sell to Black clients. I have clients of all races and cultures. To my surprise, honestly, because I come in with a very, very strong affiliation of a sense of self and self of culture, but having sold to people who don't look like me for 25 years plus, I know that people who don't look like me trust me, understand that I have credibility, and will do business with me at some of the biggest companies and governments in the country. The largest procurer of IT in the country is the federal government. The second highest procurer of IT in the country is the government of Ontario. Both were my accounts and both bought from me all the time, no problem. So think about this. I come into, this is B2B. This is business to business. Now I'm coming into business to consumer. Business to consumer is a little more fickle. A little more fickle. People are like, I call it the Heisman. Hey, don't be asking me about what my cash flow is. Hey, I know you too well to let you know my business. So the barrier was, can Wayne, A, can I trust him with my information? B, if I trust him with my information, is he going to tell anybody else my information? Well, first and foremost, I could only do that once and my career would be over. So it makes zero sense to pivot at the age of 50 into an industry after doing 25 years of privacy, confidentiality, and identity for businesses to come into this industry and then tell tales out of school. Be at a bar and tell one man about another man's business. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But people still have that. So what I did was I would tell people, this is for you. Financial planning is not something I do to you. Financial planning is something I do for you. And if you see it as that, it's a gift from me to you. So when I educate you on what's possible in Canada for you, you can take that information anywhere. But here's what I asked you. If you've been going to your bank for X number of years, you've been going to your financial person for X number of years, and they haven't told you what I just told you today, you are today years old when you're hearing this information. Would it not make sense that you deal with me? And if they say no, I'm going to go back to TD Bank or whatever bank, I say, God bless you, go ahead. But I can sleep at night, right? Black people need to understand that other cultures are thinking 3 generations ahead.
Why is that?
Because they've had continuous culture. My name is Wayne Harris. My son's name is Jordan Harris. My father's name is Ralph Harris. His father's name was Joseph Harris. I have very little information about anybody before Joseph. Every other culture on the planet does not have that issue. There are people right now that might be listening to this that don't look like us, who know they can go back to the 1600s by tracing their name. Whenever I see the commercial for Ancestry.com, they should have a little disclaimer, except if you're black. So these people know continuity because land they had in England in the 1600s might still be in their family. I have a buddy of mine, his name is Weaver. He can go back to England and find where the Weavers were, if he wants to. But he has a choice to reject it. And I told him that. I said, you have the choice to reject it. I don't have the choice. I could do DNA.com and this and that, but again, that's all conjecture. So I think because we've been scrambling for so long as a culture, as a people, people aren't thinking about estate planning. 80-20 rule. 80% of us are not planning. 20% of us have ascended and we are planning. And that 20%, they have university education, they're professionals, and they have the means and the ability to critically think, to see concepts for what they are, look at the illustrations, and make a decision for themselves that's informed, and they'll move forward. So when you say the black community, which black community are you talking about? The black community combined family income of less than $60,000 a year? Or the black community combined family income of less than $250,000 a year? Because they look the same in the mall, but they're very different in how they think. I talk to both communities. I have less issues with the communities 250 combined family income. Between 100 and 250 combined family income, no issues. The people that give me the most difficulty to convince that this is not a scam, I'm not here today, gone tomorrow, and this will actually pay out, are those people who are at the economic bottom in Toronto. They have a hard time thinking about an intangible item like a insurance policy. They will buy RESPs for their children to go to school. They will not buy life insurance for themselves. So if anything would happen to them, the RESP is no longer funded and the child won't be able to go to school. And whoever inherits the child will take on the economic burden of raising that child. And we already know that's over $200,000 to get a child to 18. So strategic versus tactical, upper middle class versus working class. Show me the demographics, show me the socioeconomics, show me the psychographics, and then you can have that discussion. So again, not everyone is the same. Serena's posting something here. A lot of us can't trace beyond our grandparents or great-grandparents and don't own land that's been the family for generations. Yes, facts. Thank you, Serena. So what I'm saying to you is this. If you don't come from a wealthy family, it's on you to become wealthy, and I can help you. If you didn't know how to make money, and I do know, and I'm willing to tell you for free, will you listen?
Yep.
If you don't come from a wealthy family, you become wealthy. How about that? Let's just draw a line in the sand at this generation and solve our problem. There are communities and cultures that just know how to do this. And they've told us, we're not listening. It's on video. It's in audio. It's in books. People are coming to your house over Zoom and telling you, and you're still not getting it. Why? Because in order for the transmitter to be received, the receiver has to be ready for the message, right? And a lot of our community isn't ready for the message. I will tell them the message, and I will hope that they get it. And maybe they'll trust me. I'll show them the receipts as to why they should trust me. and all the things I've done to put myself in position to give you real information that will change the lives of your family. So that if your mother dies at 44, like my mother did, you'll have two things in place. One, you will have a will. If you're on here,
let's stop right there.
okay?
How many people that look like us that you've spoken to, what percentage of them have a will? Just off the top of your head.
Brother, I'm going to give you Pareto's law one more time. 80-20.
Okay, yep.
80% of them do not have anything resembling a will. 20% of them do. But it's not just a will. It's a will, it's a living will, and a power of attorney. Why do you need all three? A will is great if you die. But if you don't die and you're intubated because of COVID and you're in a forced coma, what do we do? Well, we need to know what to do. And that's where the living will comes in, the so-called health directive. Do you pull the plug? Do you not pull the plug? If you pull the plug, what artifacts need to be in place in order for you to pull the plug so you don't feel guilty about pulling the plug? Because I made the decision when I was of conscious mind that that's what I want you to do. Did you know if you pull the plug within 30 days, you lose your critical illness insurance? So maybe you pull the plug in 31 days. Put it in writing. No guessing. Power of attorney? Why? Because the money to pay your bills is in your bank account, but you're the only one on the bank account, so no one can get access to the money.
Mm-hmm.
Not dead, but I can't get access to the money. So people are going to come and foreclose on your stuff because only you can touch the money.
Yep.
But if you have a power of attorney, anybody over the age of 18 should have a power of attorney. A living will and a will. Because the money in the bank goes to the house. You know what the house's name is? CRA.
And for those outside of Canada, what does CRA stand for?
Canadian Revenue Agency. In the United States, IRS. Serena, my mother didn't have life insurance or a will or a living will. I learned so much from her. Both great things she didn't do. I hear you. I hear you. So here's the bottom line. An 18-year-old is going to look at me and say, I don't need a will. You're right. Get a power of attorney to your parents so in case anything happens to you, they can get access to your money in your account. Even if it's $500, I'd rather go to your parents than go to the house and go to probate. People don't even understand what probate is, right? But probate's a very painful process if you don't have a will, living will, and power of attorney. And it can last years and cost thousands of dollars, right? Because when Prince died with a $300 million estate,
we don't even want to go there.
Yeah, and no will, you know what happened?
Yep.
Brothers and sisters and cousins came out of the woodwork. When Aretha Franklin died,
that's another one.
$80 million estate and no will, people came out of the woodwork. When Chadwick Boseman died,
yep,
at 43 without a will, he left his wife having to go to petition to take over his estate. Why? So here's a man who makes money.
Lots of
money. Here's Aretha Franklin, who's been making money and getting paid cash because she didn't like. She would get paid in cash before her shows because she had a lot of promoters who would do her dirty. She had $80 million. No will. You know, the tax implications of that is incredible. That money could have gone to fund HBCUs. It could have helped her family. It could have done many things for the Black community and whatever community she wanted to. But instead, it's going to the IRS.
Yep.
How's a young person get a power of attorney? DM me. My information is in the chat. Right? So when you think about it, because we're scrambling, right? They say, why don't Black people volunteer? Why don't we donate to charities? We're trying to live, bro. It's not that I don't want to give to save the pup, save the whales. I'm trying to get 3 meals a day.
Yep.
I'm not worried about the whales and the dogs and the puppies. To see the sad pictures of the kids in Africa. I got to take care of home base first, right? When you're on the airplane, what's it say? Should the cabin lose pressure, the mask will from the ceiling. When the mask drop, put your mask on first. By having a will, living will, and power of attorney, you put your mask on first for your family and for yourself. That's the bottom line. And anybody who's an adult in their right mind who doesn't have these 3 documents, and they're very inexpensive, I can get them to you for free. I can get them to you for $125. Bottom line is, you need to have them if you have assets. Listen, if you're living off the government, right, and you happen to be on welfare or whatever assistance you have, and you're getting the baby bonus and all this kind of stuff, and it's all government money, you're not leaving any assets. But you still will go to probate. What little assets you have, that apartment you have, and that TV, and the computer, and the jewelry, and the shoes, all that stuff is going to go to probate. So why have it do that when you can just pass it on? All the churches that have Black congregants, do you know how sustainable these churches would be if every Black congregant gave 10% of their estate
to the church
when they passed?
It's interesting you say that, Wayne, because I listen to NPR, National Public Radio, a lot in the States, and they have ads saying, hey, please, if you're, put it in your will to live donation to NPR, and going, oh yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because if death is undefeated and you have an estate plan and 10% is going to go to your church or to your HBCU, think of how many Americans there are in the United States. 45 million, of that 45 million, there's a couple of billionaires, a lot of millionaires, and a lot of people scrambling, 80-20. 80% of them scrambling. The 20% who have ascended financially through certain mechanisms could put the other 80% in place to succeed.
Yes.
If they study group economics. And shout out to Dr. Claude Anderson and
Powernomics. Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So again, we're not reinventing the wheel. This is a Big Mac, fry, and Coke. Living will, power of attorney. It's simple. It's not that difficult. You can handle it in a couple of hours. Listen, someone give me an oxtail and some cola champagne. I'll walk you through it. I'm not even afraid to say, for oxtail and cola champagne, I'll walk you through your estate plan.
Well, right? I am speaking it, and if people are really true to themselves, please contact Wayne. Tell me. I won't reveal any names, but I'm speaking it. There should be at least one person, that will contact Wayne within the next 24 hours. You live in Canada. Great. I know we have some people from the U.S. I don't think he can handle the U.S. stuff.
I've got the contacts to get them handled.
There you go. All right. So so I know that we have viewers around the world, but predominantly in Canada and the U.S. One person, contact Wayne. Even if you're in the U.S., he can refer people to you in the United States. Because whether we like it or not, we live in a capitalistic society, not a democracy. We live in a capitalistic society. So if you want to get ahead, you got to start getting your money right. Right? And I'm speaking to myself here. I'm going to be speaking to Wayne after this. Because one of the things my dad is a wonderful man. All this stuff is taken care of. It's all I have the copy of the will. I have everything. It's all. He told me, son, when I pass away, you don't have to pay for the funeral. It's done. Too many of our people, Black people, are dying with a bill, not a will.
Yeah.
So
you can leave a legacy of debt or a legacy of wealth. The choice is yours.
Right. So Wayne is speaking to me, speaking to many people here. I see that Serena said my grandmother in 96 has put a lot of things in place 20 years ago, and I'm so thankful. I have learned a lot from her and still learning. Serena also says, I'm contacting him. And Dr. Tachi says, get your money right. Yes.
It would be, I remember back in the day, depending on where you're from, these secrets would be kept from you as a community, and you would not know what to do. Those governors the shackles have been taken off you, but it's like the fleas in the jar. The fleas in the jar, they punch a few holes in the top so the fleas can't escape, but they can get air. and the fleas would jump and hit the top of the jar, and they would jump for hours and hours and hours, and then they slow down, and then they stop jumping. They take the lid off, the fleas wouldn't jump because they hit their head on the top of the lid so often that they're like, nah, I'm not even going to bother. Some people in the Black community are like fleas in the jar. The lid has been removed, but they're not jumping. My job is to tell you, jump. I got you. And there's a bunch of people like me who got you. The service is free to you. The service is free to you. Think about this. Those of you who weren't born in Canada, I was born in Canada, Montreal, like I said. Imagine this. Yes, you can get life insurance for someone with mental illness. Just depends on what they have. Think about this. Imagine you're from Nigeria. You're from Lagos. And you have a map of Lagos that shows you all the back streets, shows you where all the great restaurants are, shows you where everything is in Lagos. You get on the airplane and you fly to Canada. You pull out your map of Lagos in downtown Toronto and you start trying to use your map of Lagos to navigate downtown Toronto. Vibe, will it work? No, you know why? Because the map is out of context. The map is legitimate. Toronto is legitimate, but the map is out of context. Those of you who learned everything about finance from your parents, who grew up in other countries, have a financial map that is out of context for the most part. What I do is I show you, hey, great map. I'm not going to disparage your map. That map, fantastic. You get back on a plane and go to Lagos, that map is effective. But here is not effective. So if you're doing things like susu, partner, meeting, all those things were things you need to do to save money. It was forced savings, and it would go around with your person, and you would get your hand 6 months later, and you would use that for whatever you want to use. And that's fantastic because it's forced savings, but there's no interest. There's no interest. What are you doing to generate interest? You have to understand the rule of 72. Take the number 72 and divide it by whatever the rate of return is on whatever you have your investments in. That will tell you how long it's going to take for the money to double. Some of you have Tangerine accounts at 0.55. It's going to be 144 years before your money doubles. Are you kidding me? How can we get that money to work as hard for you as you work for it? Let me show you what's available that's not as risky as you think and give you a better outcome so your money can work. Think about this. Your savings account pays 0.55%, 0.5%. Your credit card pays 19.9%. 19.9 minus 0.5 is 19.4%. 72 divided by 19.4% is 3.5 years. But your money will double in 144 years. That's how the banks make $2 billion a quarter. Do you want to get what the bank is getting, or do you want to continue getting 0.55 at Tangerine because you save $5 in fees?
Dropping knowledge bombs. That's why I've known him for 25 plus years. He's just dropping the knowledge bombs.
People, let's go. Come on now. Come on. Jump.
Serena says, we did talk about money at one point, but not everyone. My mom had a life insurance, but she said it lapsed and then she got sick and passed away. Had she told me it lapsed, I would have paid the premium. Why don't Black folks talk to one another? Sigh.
Yes. Serena, sorry for your loss with your mother. I can definitely relate. As you know, the difference between my mother and your mother is the tools she chose and the people she had in her circle. My mother's circle was very, very tight. And she had a first cousin who was thinking the same way as her. It's very tough to know what to do if everybody in your circle is thinking the same way. So if you have a policy and it's lapsing because it's underfunded, chances are it's a term policy. And term policies are good for temporary insurance, right? 84% of term policies do not pay out, like your mother's. Why? Because they lapse. Permanent policies usually pay out because they have enough cash in the policy that if you can't pay, the cash in the policy will pay the policy for you. So you have to understand the differences between the types of insurance. what type you have and what type you need, and then find someone who's going to give you multiple options. Because sometimes a person comes to you and they only have, it's like a Model T Ford. You can have any color you want as long as it's black. That's what Henry Ford said. You can have any color for the Model T as long as it's black. Some companies only have one offering, and if that offering is not for you, they walk away. Or you can work with someone who has multiple companies, multiple offerings, and can put something together for you bespoke at a level that you can understand and a level that you can afford, and then you can get more down the road when things work out for you and you have a plan. You don't have to buy everything today.
I want to shout out two people. First time I've seen him on one of my live conferences, Mark Lewis, saying already his client. We still have work to do, Wayne, and I cannot go without saying hello to Dr. Tachi, who hosts the livest program on the live stream that talks about media, tech, and pop culture. It's called Mediascope, on every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Instagram Live, and then at 6 p.m. on Periscope, LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, and WJMS Radio. Had to make sure I give both of those individuals a shout out. Serena Wills is saying the knowledge bombs are everything. Yes, they are. Wayne, from your lens, what has this year, especially the impact it's had on Black people financially?
Great question. Listen, I can tell you, my little brother turned 50. Imagine that. My little brother turned 50 January 1st of this year, and we were in Montreal to celebrate with him before all this madness started. And we're there, and we're partying, and we're eating, and having a great time. And 25 days later, Kobe dies.
Yes.
First shock of 2020 for Black people. I don't care if you like Kobe, didn't like Kobe, but Kobe is 41 years old, and he was going to be a billionaire before Michael Jordan, because he's the most competitive person I've ever read about and seen. And he was going to beat Jordan to the $1 billion. That was probably his mission in life. And Kobe Bryant went down in a helicopter because he wanted to avoid traffic from Calabasas to LA. I've seen what that looks like. I've been to Calabasas and LA, and I know what it looks like, and you don't want to do it on a Sunday. So he did the right thing to have a chopper, but he did the wrong thing in getting into inclement weather, and it cost him and 8 other people their lives, including his daughter. So we get shocked and rocked by that. My phone blew up. Hey, Wayne, I need a will. I need insurance. I need this. I need that. So things went positive for me because of my industry. I was in Ottawa about to speak at a conference when my phone started blowing up. My cousin, Kadisha Thornhill, Afro Cannabis Bud Sisters, shout out. She was calling me, telling me Kobe was dead. I said, don't believe it until CNN said so. Black people, right? He said it, and I didn't believe it. CNN said it. I said, okay, Kobe's gone. Wow. So I changed my presentation to accommodate Kobe. March comes and COVID hits. Nobody knows what's going on. And then we see COVID started hurting the Black community more than anybody else. Why? Respiratory issues, overweight, high blood pressure, blah, 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 poor health, yada, yada. So COVID starts like a hot knife through butter through the Black community. Lost my cousin in New York, in Queens. He was in his 80s. He had some cognitive issues, but he might still be here if not for COVID-19. And other friends in Montreal and in Toronto gone. So that's COVID. COVID causes my business to explode, to be honest. Then COVID starts to die down. People start getting overconfident, especially where I live in Peel region.
Yeah.
Last night, the cops had to break up Diwali parties.
Yes, 2 of them. Yep.
Last night.
Yep.
The message is not getting through. You know what gets through? A couple $100,000 in fines might change the behavior, and then publicize that you did those fines. But anyway, we're going to go through another wave in the next 2 weeks. They said 6,500 COVID cases by December.
Yeah.
So here's what I know. If you get COVID and you try to get insurance after you get COVID, it's going to be a long road for you. So people who don't have COVID and don't have insurance need to get insurance before they get COVID, because once you have it,
too late.
Category.
Yep.
Right? Then Chadwick Boseman dies in September. and change the narrative. And all I'm waiting for, and I'm praying. Please have a will. Please have a will. Please have a will. No will. He had 4 years that he knew he had that cancer. 4.
Yeah.
And he did nothing. I'm like, who's advising these people?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Right? Here's what I know. Somebody said it on Instagram. If every black man, woman, and child had a $2 million policy, the police wouldn't be killing them as fast because the policy would pay out and you'd be able to afford lawyers and you'd be able to guns.
Good point.
Right? Guns a-blazing.
Good point. Good point.
So again, we know that's a panacea. It's not going to happen. But if you know you're being hunted by certain elements of society, it behooves you to put things in place that should something happen to you, you can figure it out financially and give your family a boost. I'm not looking to give people handouts. I'm looking to give people a hand up by giving them the knowledge to change. If they can't change their reality, they can change reality for every generation after them.
Yeah. Every success should have a successor.
There is no success without a successor.
That's correct.
Right.
Wow.
So COVID-19 has been very good for business. People are understanding that you're in one of 3 categories. You're an essential worker on the front line, or you're an essential worker not on the front line, or you're a non-essential worker. The people at risk are in all 3 categories. The essential worker will get COVID just because they're around it every day. Nurses, doctors, paramedics, firemen, police people, social workers who have to go into homes in the lower socioeconomic areas where COVID is rampant, in the red zones. In Toronto, there's no COVID. I'm not saying there's no COVID, but there's very little COVID in Forest Hill. But there's a lot of COVID in Rexdale and Malton because people are tight, which is why people are moving to Muskoka and Orangeville and Stratford and other places, because if the Wi-Fi is good, I don't need to be up on those people. And if I can work from home, which is the new normal, by the way, I don't need to be in Toronto. I can be an hour in any direction and get my job done. Are you an essential worker on the front lines? Thank you for your service, but you're at risk every day. You should have your house in order. Are you a non-essential worker? All the people who are very, I won't say arrogant, I'll say overconfident when I was talking to them last year before COVID. Oh yeah, I'm good. Guess what? Now they're on SERP. Now they're on EI. Now they're not good. Now they're looking for something else. We can talk. But there's the next category of essential worker, non-frontline. That's me. All banks were open during COVID.
Yep.
All insurance companies were open during COVID.
Yep.
Everything I did over Zoom. 0 touch.
That's the way I do things these days.
All right.
That's that's the way I do things these days. For what I do, I don't need to be there physically. In fact, I've amplified this year.
Exactly. So if I can show you a way that's recession-proof, pandemic-proof, an essential service, inelastic demand, which means it doesn't matter what the price is, you need to get it. DM me, find me, let's talk.
Well, I'm going to wind it down here because, as you can tell, Wayne and I could go on for hours, but I respect him and his family, and I'm hoping he's going to come back sooner. I'm actually going to tease and say, if you can be a regular economic contributor, I'd love that too. But we'll just talk about that offline. But I will say that Robert, and I've used this quote a few times, so people, I hope you haven't got tired of it. A number of months ago, when the C was at its height, early height, now it's back again, CNN had Robert Smith on. So for those people who don't know who Robert Smith is, Google him. He is the richest black person in America, period. Has a personal wealth of $5 billion. And Don Lemon was interviewing him. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I saw him. And he said, what words do you have for the American? See that? Serena saying, come back every month, Wayne. This was needed. There you go. I don't know how much, I don't know if I can afford him. But
Still, but oxtail.
Oxtail.
DoorDash, skip the dishes, Uber Eats. You know where I live.
I know where you live. And Don Lemon asked, what's your words out there for Black people? And he said, don't waste this crisis. Done.
Facts, buddy. No lies, no lies were told here tonight.
No. And this is the Wayne that I've known for 25 plus years. He comes straight. He comes with the right heart. You may not like the delivery, but what he's saying is either facts or evaluated experience. What more do you want, especially during these times? Yeah. Wayne, any final words you would like to share with the audience? Sure.
Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for your comments. I appreciate the format and the form that you provide. It is needed and, you know, maybe taken for granted, even by people like me who haven't been on. I've seen it on Facebook, but haven't been on to this. But I need to add it to my weekly digestion of content. So kudos to you. For everybody who's on here tonight, simply think about this. Ask yourself 3 questions. When I was at Deloitte & Touche and they taught me about risk management, they asked 3 questions. If something were to happen to you in the worst case scenario, what's the best that can happen? What's the most likely situation to happen? And what's the worst that can happen? If you can deal with the worst case scenario, there's nothing for you to do. There's nothing I can say to you. But if you can't deal with the worst case scenario, then you need to get back with somebody you trust. It doesn't have to be me. But if you get back with that person and figure out how you can handle the worst case scenario will be something happening to me as breadwinner when I was the only breadwinner when my wife was a stay-at-home mom, and her being left with all the debt and nothing in place. She would go from hero to zero in less than 3 months. Or I could put things in place that will replace my income until my youngest was 21, which will be next year. And that's what I did. So even if I don't make it out of here tonight, she's going to be okay. And I told her, find a man who's a 44 tall with a size 13 feet because I got some nice gear. I'll end on that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No problem. Thank you, Wayne. And Wayne's contact information, you can find him on LinkedIn. You can find him on Twitter. You watch the replay. It's been scrolling throughout. We'll certainly do our best. And or as Serena's saying, cola champagne too. He will come back. LOL. Dr. Tachi saying, or ting.
All good options, but oxtails.
So as I say, absolutely, this has been fantastic. And everyone here, the message is out. You know, we've got to take advantage of this crisis if you can, because it's not going to be like this. This is a very unique time in everyone's history, but especially Black people's history. I'd like to, Dr. Tachi, this was great. Thank you both so much. Right back at you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tachi. Thank you, Serena. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Mark. Thank everybody who was watching this live on the replay. Thank you, Kevin in New York. We want you back when the time is right. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who watches live on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. If you want to touch base with me, I am Dr. Vibe. Best place to get a hold of me, it's up on the screen if you're watching this live on the replay. Or if you're listening, the drvibeshow.com. Also, thank you to BIA Media for the production. And as always, I close out with these conversations. Thank you, Mark, too. Thanks for helping it, making it up a conversation. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. And also, again, I'll say it again, Robert Smith said, don't waste this crisis. Follow me on whatever other platforms you can, and we'll have another great episode of Black Canada Talking next week. God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and walk good, and remember to give yourself grace. Goodbye, everybody.